Time to piss some more people off because the truth will set you free. But first it'll piss you off. I guess it's life experience. Yeah, that's what it is. The longer you live, the longer you're aware of your surroundings. This goes in so many folds for humanity. Every single day something in any fleeting moment of that day will prove otherwise. So what's the fucking point of optimism? It's gotten so bad that people are so oblivious to how things have been working for the longest, but they'll engage in it and they'll cry wolf. So now that I've put you on to the title of this video, let's get started. It's been a while, Joe Merrick, and this is why. And I can see why this is. But it goes deeper than that because you're a very familiar type that I want to touch on today. Now, I'm not about to make a sermon about blocking and muting people on Twitter of all places. The circumstances easily provide all the context you need concerning that. What I want to talk about is Joe Merrick's kind. Oh, don't worry, this isn't racist, especially with everything going on in the world. No, we're talking about the wolf criers, ladies and gents. All right, let's provide a bit of context. Here we go. So I've been thinking about making this tweet thread for a while. This week marks 1 year since the start of it. Dun, dun, dun. And here we go. Over the past year, my mental health has been all over the place. Oh my God. For the first time in 20 years while covering things for the site, there was a blowback to something, and due to the proliferation of social media, the expansion of social media, for those who aren't fans of big words, it got very loud, overwhelming, and personal. Normally when things are rough, he engrosses himself with work, but he couldn't do that here. Red flag? My escape was ripped away from me. Call a cop, guys. There's been a crime committed. There were two major points where I almost let it overwhelm me and shut Sarah B down, and I came really close one time to just pressing the delete button. Bullshit, but moving on. But with the help of Marty, all of his close friends, hopefully y'all know who you are, he's been able to get through the dark times, quote unquote. In addition to that, the support of so many of you was so amazing and has maintained throughout. When I Stand with Sarah B ended up as a worldwide trend and the site breaking all records with the Sword and Shield launched by a large margin, it helped me to know that these were just a few people causing problems and it was not the standard. So wait, a hashtag trending worldwide that I never saw, by the way, and his site getting hits, a site over 20 years old, by the way, and making bank, I'm sure. He had to see these internet status quos to realize that there are trolls on the internet. It's amazing that it took all of this success for him to realize that he's a very weak-minded person. However, it's still hard to dismiss, especially as some of the people are still showing up near on a daily, hurling abuse at me or with an account dedicated to harassing me. Sounds very familiar. And I never knew it was hard to just shut off the internet, block people, etc. All of the tools, but we'll get to all that. It has become a daily struggle which I sometimes can't deal with. Sometimes I shrug it off, others it hits. Final one, guys. I'm still struggling with this on some days, especially with the current global situations and the recent change in my respiratory health. Finally something that's actually tangible. But I'm getting through it all thanks to your support. We should always talk with those close to us as they can help. I love you all. Thanks. Great, guys. I almost shed a fake tear, but yeah. The webmaster of Cerebi has been running a site over 20 years that is quite useful at times and is very successful. If you're remotely privy of Pokemon, you know Cerebi, but he is effortlessly defeated by one of the package deals that came with the internet from the very beginning called trolls. He is crying wolf and misdiagnosing himself with this mental health bullshit because he can't simply log off his computer and use the two functions available on something like Twitter called block and mute, as he did with me and a few others that were very critical, very loud and noisy, right, Joe Merrick? Especially about Sword and Shield, and said things he didn't want to hear. And he's crying wolf to the simphood that will surely pick him up and support him without a shadow of a doubt. Joe Merrick, ladies and gents, is just another snowflake that lives in a bubble and is crying about people harassing him and trolling him, especially on a fucking site and in a shithole like Twitter, because he lacks any kind of self-awareness, self-control, and accountability for his actions. How many times do people like him have to that ask their abusers for more. You're on the internet. You are using social media. You have acknowledged the proliferation of social media, but instead of learning, adapting, and conquering, you bitch up, shrivel up, and get defeated by it more and more and more, and then you still engage in it. And I know, well, people are mean, and you can't control all this. Wow, I bet not see any of you in the military, or better yet, any job that has anything to do with mental superiority, because those are one of the tests that you will epically fail. It's so hard to ignore people. It's so hard to block and mute people on Twitter, even though you've done it before, and then you still cry wolf because you are still dumbfounded to how social media works. Damn, that reminds me of such a familiar hashtag that I actually saw trending a while back. Look at this character right here. For Brendan, Pokemon has gotten him out of many deep holes. I'm not gonna blame it on the pandemic. I'm going to blame it on people with too much time in their basement. I don't give a shit what kind of life you think you have or how bad you think things are. Go over there and live in a third world country where starvation, no government is the norm. You step somewhere, that could be the end of you and your family, women, the children, and the men. You people don't know shit about having a bad life and how bad mental health really can be. And I don't mean to confirm or deny anything, but the way people are going on and on because your context, you're basing all of your mishaps on dealings on the internet and social media, knowing that is not a place for anyone with any mental health problems. And believe it or not, your life is not as bad as you think it is, considering what's going on currently. Before that, and again in those third world countries, just for an example, Pokemon saves the day, but social media ruins you, but you can't help but to run back and indulge in more of it. But look at this guy. I can start by defending what I love. I take a bullet to the head before I let this franchise die. Call me blinded, call me oblivious. I'm defending my life. No, kid, you need to go outside and get some air, and you are a fucking fool. That's what I will call you, because that's exactly what you are. Nothing is ever that deep, ladies and gents, because people are taking shit so seriously, and then they want to cry wolf the next second when they're on social media of all places, crying about harassment, being trolled, and losing their fucking minds. Joe Merrick, you've had more success than a lot of people. You should be more grateful that you're in the position you're in, instead of crying about your little bitch fights, dealings, goings on, and whatever the hell you're crying about on social media and Twitter of all places. Oh, boo-hoo. You couldn't be bothered to ignore things. You can't block and mute people consistently and more competently. You saw and heard something that you didn't want to hear and see. I'm not sorry that your little precious bubble got popped by social media. You are privileged. You're not a victim. Sit the fuck down crying because people hurt your feelings on the internet because you want to distract from the fact that you've given power to a bunch of keyboard warriors. You have Marty, right? You have your close friends, right? Be grateful. You have this as well. There is nothing wrong with you. And if it's that bad, you need to delete this entire line. You need to shut down Cerebi. That's what I was saying earlier. You almost pressed the delete button. You almost shut down Cerebi. Absolute bullshit. You were not going to say no to all of that money and success. And you know you weren't going to do that. You had you a little moment because you're a little snowflake. You didn't give yourself a time out, and you allowed it to kill you, not make you stronger. That's on you. Again, learn some self-awareness, learn some self-control, and learn some fucking accountability. Stop crying like a little fucking baby. Change your diaper and be grateful for your success and those who support you. A lot of people would love to be in your position. Look at your followers. Look at these numbers. Yeah, they're just numbers, but you have all these people behind you. And you know this shit. This is social media illness in a nutshell. I'm sure if it was me or anyone else that wasn't a big name on the internet, they would be ridiculed. Oh, boo-hoo, suck it up. Are you seriously crying about social media ruining your life, destroying your mental capacity, people harassing and trolling you on social media? But it's all good. I just wanted to point that out because with so much going on with the back and forth between Sword and Shield and whatnot, it's amazing why no one can really enjoy anything. Always focusing on the negative. Complain about the critics. Complain about the toxic ones. Complain, complain, complain. Like like everyone else is the problem and we can't look in a fucking mirror. But you can't even realize how blessed you are. And you wonder why you all can't enjoy things because you're too busy being destroyed by insignificant shit on the internet like this dude. Aside from his obvious success, this dude has had other privileges out of his snowflake ass. Remember that time you met with Game Freak Joe Merrick? And I'm pretty sure if you wanted to, you could become an affiliate and get you many more connections with the Pokemon company, Game Freak, whatever. And I guess you all can take away from this the fact that it's good to be grateful. You should realize that things aren't as bad as you think they are. Take a step back and think, what are you allowing to defeat you and how insignificant it is? And then look at your success. Being alive is enough with everything going on. Their perfect little world, because they saw something on the internet that they didn't agree with, was just completely fucking annihilated. When parts of the world still have to deal with hunger, and for those who've been living under a rock or born yesterday, yeah, America's history has once again repeated itself. It's the 60s all over again. There's knees on necks, racial injustice, and police corruption outweighing the few good that have already been slaughtered, even in the past week, ravaging the world. So I guess this is the sequel to the good old days. And on that note, Joe Merrick, I'm not sorry if a few trolls on the internet completely obliterated your already fragile ass mental state. I mean, hell, you're aware of this. You even retweeted what's going on in the real world. So if you mean to be an image for everyone supporting you, do better than cry about people on the internet giving you a bad day with tweets and text. Because at the end of the day, my guy, no one with a brain gives a fuck about you allowing some trolls on the internet to claim power and dominion over your feeble mind. If mind over matter isn't a thing for you, then permanently logging off of your computer needs to be. And there it is, guys. You have all the context you'll ever need that explains why he did this to me and a few others. But I guess he has to reserve himself or make himself look good in general by being inconsistent and incompetent with doing this to all of the others he's allowing to have power over his feeble little mind. I can imagine how many privileged, blessed, successful people, if you will, are sniveling fucking wimps deep down inside.